Welcome back. Last we left off, we were still orbiting the moon. Um, and we just entered the orbit of the moon and chosen Niven as our base of landing. Base of landing. Plus 10 base of landing. Um, so we need to land there. And you may see a problem with landing there immediately, and that is we never get close to Niven. We are currently about 1.5, 1.6 thousand kilometers away from it, and that's about as close as we're ever going to get. Um, so we need to change that. And before I change that, I'm actually going to do something that may not immediately. I'll do that later. So we need to change that. And the problem and solution is similar to the problem solution of the aligning planes with the International Space Station. The International Space Station, the closest we could have gotten, well, since our planes intersected, they did intersect, but we could have gotten to the closest we got was about 300 kilometers away. Now we're 1.5 million meters away. Um, anyway, we need to adjust our orbit, and so to do that, we need to kind of step into the map. So here we are facing forward in our orbit, and I'm actually going to wait until a more preferable conditions right here. So here we are facing forward in our orbit. The moon is to our left. So our nose is facing this way, and that means up is going to be south and down is going to be north because of the way we are laying against the moon. So if we wanted to change this point to go down, we would need to be facing orbit normal. Because that way our thrust redirects this velocity to a more southerly approach. And if we fire our engines, you can see that happening right here. A little note on normal. Normal means in geometric terms and calculus and all that, it means orthogonal or perpendicular. So right here we are perpendicular to our prograde, but despite there being only two buttons for normal, there are not only two directions that are normal to our prograde. And I'm going to time compress this to further explain what I mean here after completely altering our orbit. So there we go. We have aligned with the base. And what I mean by there's not only two is I'm still on rotation or linear. What I mean is that by there's not only two is that if we go up here, say, we are still normal to our orbital velocity so long as this is near 90 or 180. This is normal. Over here is normal. Normal is, you can imagine it being a giant, sorry. You can imagine it being a giant disk around our spacecraft that is perpendicular to our velocity. What this means, what these two buttons mean, is just the directions of normal. One being both perpendicular to our velocity, but parallel to the moon's surface in both directions. Normal positive being one way, normal negative being the other way. And the autopilot calls it orbit normal and orbit anti-normal, so that's probably what I'm going to be using as the terminology. So anyway, here we are orbiting the moon with our planes aligned with the base. So now the problem is landing. And obviously we're going to need to decrease our speed to do this, and in order to do that, I'm actually going to go retrograde, because that's how we decrease speed, is retrograde. But before I decrease my no. Yes. after I decrease my speed. We're building up to something, but you don't know what yet. So we need to decrease our speed such that we actually come into a landing. As you can see, our orbit has changed because normal and anti-normal aren't exactly perfect. Our orbit has changed so that we're actually going up, and if we extrapolate our current path, we're going to reach our maximum somewhere over here. Our maximum height somewhere over here, actually. Which means we're going to be very far away from the moon when we pass over Niven Base, which is not a good thing. So let's fire retroactively until we get more favorable conditions, like this. So now we're going to go up and then back down to the surface of the moon, right around Niven Base. And you can see it's a little bit beyond Niven Base, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be exact. And it's probably best if it's not exact because of the autopilot we're going to use. So now I'm going to go to prograde so we can face forward because, I don't know, I'm nostalgic like that. And now, finally, I'm going to do what I've been trying to do previously but thinking better of it, and that is open the bay doors. Because the autopilot we are going to use doesn't like me. And when I say that, I mean whenever my ship is any different weight than what the autopilot expects it to be, it crashes. And not only does it crash, it really crashes. Like, the ship will enter some sort of weird dimension where nothing is real and everything is, made of cucumbers. So to stop that from happening, to be safe, I'm going to release all of my fuel tanks. So there we go. Nice knowing you. You served your job well. Have fun. And so now that that's over with, I need to open the hover doors as well. When in, there's the hover doors. That's a beautiful view of the hover doors, by the way. I did not plan that. When you're going to be landing on a planet that doesn't have an atmosphere, always use the hover doors. I could try to do this manually, but nobody wants to see that because it's going to take ages. So I'm going to use the autopilot, and the autopilot we're using is called Lola MFD. And there's a lot of great things about Lola. I could talk for ages about how awesome it is. Here is our list of ships that are available. It is very similar to the list of ships that are available here. GLO2, PBO1, SH1 and 3, and lastly our XR5. You can affect any one of these ships from any one of the other ships. In other words, it doesn't matter where I am. Where am I? Ah, that's Brighton Beach. Anyway, it doesn't matter where I am or what ship I am currently focused on. I can affect any of those ships here on the list. But we're only going to be wanting to do the Vanguard here. So you have to register the vehicle and select it with the right arrow. It puts this little asterisk here. So you hit the list, and it asks you what you want to do. We want to be landing at the base. We want to be landing at Niven Base, and randomly, I'm going to choose 5. And engage with right arrow. And so it orients the craft properly, and gives you all the information, distance to Niven Base, altitude above the moon, and when your engines will start firing. So, I'll put this back on the track. So there we go. And it automatically decompresses the time for when it starts firing, but normally Lola can run at about 10. I wouldn't recommend going any higher than 10. And so right now it is the deceleration stage, which is our hover engines pointing, forward. So we're slowing down. And then Lola realizes we're not going to make it, and so we're now facing kind of forward to speed up. It's not an optimized autopilot, but it's a lot more optimized than what I would do. My My method at this is usually just slow down until your little doohickey is on there, and then use the hover doors parallel to the surface of the planet while retro doors are slowing you down. Not a very good way of doing it. Lola is much more efficient than I, but it's not perfectly efficient. Anyway, here is Niven Base. I've slowed it down to normal speed. You have a radar, a radio telescope array, and the buildings and the 9 landing pads all around it. And coming into land, as we land, we should probably lower the gears. Those are massive wheels. It's like the size of a person. Um, so coming in for a landing, Lola will do the entire thing for us. So I'll go back to outside and zoomed in. And coming in. I should probably go this way so you guys can see. Yay! So there we go, landing complete. Have a nice day. Um, so that's... Does that actually change? No. Um, so that's Lola, and we will be using it a lot more in future videos. And I just used it to demonstrate how you can land at a base, say Niven on pad 5. Hey, Niven rhymes with Riven. That was totally not purposeful. So anyway, yeah, I'll see you in the next video.